Hi guys, man, so good that we finally get a chance to do a group series with you guys. Man, we're so excited because the last time we did this was like 6 years ago. A while ago. So like 2 whole series in 6 years is a pretty good record.
And the same topic.
Okay, it's Wayne and Libby. In case you didn't know, we sometimes lead worship. You will see us once in a while. So here we go in session 1. We really wanted to start with worship matters. And ask the question, why does worship matter? What's the role of worship in a Christian's life? What's the role of worship in your life? It's really interesting. I've noticed, right? So some people will come to church because they love the music, which is not necessarily worship.
Yeah.
Right? Heaps of people have come to church just because we've got great music. But is music worship? Heaps of people come to church and they'll come and they'll say, man, I love the worship because they felt something in it. Right? And they felt a presence, they felt like, I don't know, just an emotional thing maybe. For a lot of them, it's a spiritual awakening, they just don't realize it. So they can't answer, they don't know what it is. But it's obviously meant something to them. But for a majority of our people, the people that have come to church on Sunday, they just say, man, I love our church worship because it's a chance for them to, if we help facilitate the worship that's already in their heart.
The connection point, eh?
The connection point. And
God.
so they get to worship God and they just love, and they are very appreciative of the fact that we play music and help them do that. And I guess the first question, if you're thinking about, what to discuss in your groups tonight, is which one are you? What does the worship time in our church mean to you? Is it brand new? Do you understand what you're doing when you're jumping up and down? Are you feeling something and your spiritual eyes are being awakened? Or do you completely understand that what you're doing is your act of worship before God and you're just joining with the rest of the church to do it? Yeah? So we wanted to kind of start with that thought and then ask you this question. Well, no, the second thought. Your very act of giving your life to God, if you have, is actually your first act of worship. Man, we've seen, for years, we've just seen so many people think that worship is music. Worship is music. And music, music is a great expression of worship, but it's certainly not the all in all, right?
Yeah.
So it's the very first act of giving your life to God is an act of worship because it's an act of surrender.
Yeah. Sacrifice.
It's an act of sacrifice. Yeah. We're sacrificing our will. We're giving our lives to God. That's got to be the first place we start. So then we thought it would be really good with that thought in mind to go back to the Bible and start with with 2 scriptures, which I think you should know because they are the 10 commandments.
The beginning of it all.
The beginning of it all. So Liv's got the first one here. When Moses went up the mountain, God then gave him the 10 commandments, and this is commandment number 1.
So in Exodus 20, it just simply says, I am the Lord your God who has brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. That's the first summing up of the law. The plan.
You shall have no other gods before me. But then it goes on to say a little bit more about the shrine,
Oh, yeah, so then it goes on about you shall not make for yourself any idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the water below. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous, impassioned God.
Wow. So here's this God who's full of passion. He's got a real heart. He's catching his people. He's brought his people to himself for the first time, and he's saying, don't worship all those other things. Don't make anything and worship it. Don't worship the things that he made. Don't worship a tree. Don't worship the ocean. He's clearly saying, okay, I'm the jealous God. I want you for myself. Don't worship anything else. But then Moses takes that same commandment and he goes down to the people. And when he passes that commandment on to the people, he says it in a different way. He says commandment number 1 is this, and this is in Deuteronomy 6.
Yeah, Deuteronomy 6 says, attention Israel, God our God, God the one and only, love God, your God, with your whole heart, love him with all that's in you, love him with all you've got. Or love the Lord your God, traditionally, with all your heart, soul and strength.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength. It's pretty hard to love God with all your heart, not include all your emotions. The difference between Exodus 20, which is don't worship anything or anybody else or all the idols or things you make, and love the Lord God with all your heart, clearly to God, worship equals love. Worship equals love. It starts with worship, and with God, our love relationship with him is reflected in our worship.
Yes, it is. What I love, though, too, so when Jesus was then, we maybe are kind of jumping around a bit, but when Jesus was asked by a religious leader, can you sum up, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus said, well, the whole law and the prophets can be summed up in 2 commands. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So Jesus himself took the Deuteronomy and quoted it and basically said, if you do this, love God with all your heart, with all your mind, all your strength, everything within you, and love people, you're going to be summing up
all of the law.
The whole law. He pretty much kind of encompassed all of it in those 2 commands.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that Jesus quoted Moses when he was asked what the greatest commandment was. He didn't quote Exodus 1. He didn't quote his father, who said that. He quoted Moses because that was the heart of what that commandment was trying to say.
Yeah.
God is all about love. He's not after just meaningless expression of meaningless sacrifice. It's an expression of a love for him.
And the thing is, too, what we understand of worship is that a song doesn't cut it. It's what the expression of the heart coming through that song. So when we sing songs in church on Sunday or wherever we are, expressing ourselves in worship, if the heart's not connected, it's really just noise. And that's.
Okay. So I wanted you to show you a really short video of how people are worshiping around the world, because it's not just Christians that worship. There are religions all over the world that worship. There are groups of people that worship. There are all types of people. And I just wanted to take 30 seconds just to show you what other people look like when they're worshiping. And you'll probably recognize a lot of it. But take a look at this quickly.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Interesting, right? When you look at our church worshiping and you see shots of music and people with their hands in the air, but then you realize, of course, when you say worship to most people in the world, they don't think of a Christian church doing that. They think of people bowing down. They think of people sacrificing stuff.
Yeah.
When you think about Indiana Jones movies and Amazonian Indians sacrificing a lamb, or a goat to their God, it's all about the people sacrificing to their God. And I think the thing that we really wanted to get across to you guys is Christianity is the only religion in the world where God did the sacrifice for us. God made the sacrifice for us. So when he asked for a sacrifice from us, it's not a sacrifice to appease him, to say, hey, can I be acceptable now because I'm bringing this? Jesus has already done that. God made that sacrifice for us so we could come to him. So that's why we're now free to come to him with love, come to him with thanks, come to him with gratitude, and all the love that he's after.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful story that Livy's going to tell you, which kind of demonstrates the whole point that we're trying to make.
Yeah, so a wonderful pastor friend of ours in the States talked to a group of worship leaders and basically said to us, what's your job as worship leaders? We're at a conference and we were like, well, to lead people into God's presence. And he said, no, that's not your job. And we're like, thought that was our job? Isn't that what we meant to be doing? And he said, no, that's not your job, because Jesus' death on the cross has made it possible for us to be forever in his presence. I think it talks in Hebrews about because of Jesus' sacrifice, we can boldly come to the very throne of God. We can boldly come right into his presence. Yep. So he said, so what's your job as worship leaders? We're like, no idea. He said, your job is to lead people to an awareness of his nearness. And that caught me because I thought, because of Jesus' death, as Wayne said, the sacrifice that Jesus made for us, the only religion where the God made the sacrifice and our response is worship, but we're continually in his presence.
Yeah.
Like we're never lost to his presence. And we simply have to make ourselves aware of that nearness. We simply have to make, by focusing our thoughts on Jesus, thinking about what he's done, the overflow should be, oh my gosh, how can I not worship? How can I not give him my heart, my life, everything in response to what he's done for me? And that's got to be the crux of it. When we come into, sorry, I interrupted you. Okay, I'm gonna go. So when we come into church on Sunday, that should be just the overflow of what we've been experiencing in relationship with him throughout the week. Yeah.
And what a great place to land.
Yeah.
An awareness of his nearness. Jesus is near. God is near because Jesus made a way.
Yeah.
When we come to worship, it is about our response to his sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's our sacrifice. As you break into your groups and as you start to discuss, I want you to come back to those questions. Am I here because of the music? Am I here starting to understand what this worship thing is and feeling something? Or do I really understand that my response, my worship to God, is our response to his sacrifice?
Yeah.
All right, have a great time discussing that, and we will catch you next time.